father to join us once again. So give us some time. Amrita,
Teachers, my dear classmates, everyone gathered here, and most importantly, the honorable guests, Sudhir Narayana sir, AJ Phillips sir, and Bugozia ma'am. We are very delighted to have you all here today. I am Dia.
And I am Nitin. We are your hosts for today's event. We all have gathered here to learn and discuss about media today in India and all over the world. We will also be celebrating the release of the second edition of the Feathers of Hope magazine, monthly publication by Christ Academy Junior College. We are indeed really happy to have the release this before you all. The day without prayer is a day without blessing, and a life without prayer is a life without power. On that note, let us begin this auspicious program with a prayer.
good afternoon.
Yes, sir. Can we begin with the prayer, sir?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
I don't know where is Amrita. Where is it? She hasn't posted it. Amrita, where is it, Amrita? Hmm. Where? Can I take it? What is the number here?
Now, I would like to request Jochan sir to deliver the welcome speech.
Thank you, Dia. I consider this as an opportunity to thank God Almighty for all the people around me today. It makes me proud to be part of an institution led by a visionary leader, a man down to earth, Reverend Father Dr. Joyce CMI. He is designated as the director of Christ Academy Group of Institutions in Bangalore, and he is also the principal of Christ Academy Junior College. He is a man who takes up challenges by the horns and grabs every opportunity in the path to success. He leads from the front with a missionary zeal and love for all endeavors within the campus and the villages around. A warm welcome, Reverend Father Joyce, to this webinar. Next in line is Father David CMI, the Vice Principal of Christ Academy Junior College. He is an epitome of humility. His presence is felt all over the campus. His commitment and dedication to this academic life is like a gentle breeze that energizes one on a summer note. The ever-smiling figure in the campus is a strength to both the staff and the students. A warm welcome to this webinar, dear Father David. Sri Sudhir Narayana IAS is a person with 20 long years of dedicated service in the Indian Administrative Services. He is the head of the Regional Training Center, training person for the Southern region. A much needed IT and software development institute for the trainees is now being constructed in Bangalore under his able guidance. He is an orator, a voracious reader, much acclaimed writer in the new media that we now find in the internet. He will talk to us on the impact of modern media on education today. What is the scope and sequence of the youngsters who aspire to choose a career in the media today? Hearty welcome to this webinar, dear Sudhir sir. Dr. Bagusha has put over 27 years into developing her skills of improving organizational performance. She is recognized internationally as a highly engaging keynote speaker. She has highly insightful knowledge of leadership as demonstrated in her doctoral thesis, in which she introduces an alchemical model of leadership. Her mantra of "You were born to be awesome and not ordinary" has inspired many leaders to review their current methods of leadership and propel the performance themselves. She is the owner of Bogosia TQM Limited and is the director of Gulf Education Services. She is the founder and co-director of Top Quality Mark. Based on her experience of working in education and with commercial business, Dr. Bogosia has built a reputation as an international trainer and coach, in which her common sense approach to organization and self-improvement puts her at the forefront of international consultancy. Her clients from public and private sectors include several international schools and professional and commercial organizations. Internationally situated in Saudi Arabia, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and Mombasa. Some of Dr. Bogusia's biggest clients are Costa Cruises and Birmingham City University. Dr. Bogusia is a registered international inspector and has used her analytical, evaluative, and communicative skills with international schools around the world. Dr. Bogusia has an in-depth knowledge of leadership skills and worked closely with numerous directors, head of teachers, head teachers and senior managers to turn around underperforming organizations and achieve life balance. He brings in the into the knowledge of education and commercial world of business management and takes a sharp edge of commerce to education. Her particular life skills in helping leaders gain a clear view of their barriers to success and to raise standards in performance. Welcome, Dr. Bokushia, to this August gathering. We welcome Mrs. Susan, the head of the Department of English, without whose love and support this magazine would not see the light of the day. She is a pillar of light guiding both in writing and publishing. Welcome, dear Mrs. Susan Verghese, to this gathering of young minds and age. Shiba ma'am is a joy to watch in the class, using instructional tools in her classroom. She is an all joyful figure, anytime approachable, and makes her presence felt in all celebrations. You too are a force to reckon with when it comes to inspiring and motivating students. A warm welcome, Shiba ma'am, to this gathering. Martin sir, the human representation of humility and respect. His influence in the campus is seen both in the classroom and in the campus. He is a model to be lived. As Gandhi once said, my life is my teaching. So too, the life and example of Martin sir. Welcome, dear Martin sir, to this webinar. Not the least, but the most important participants of this webinar, the students, and a warm welcome to all of you to this gathering. Participate actively, ask questions, make notes, and plan for a better tomorrow. Welcome one and all here present. Thank you.
A teacher's words never fail to enlighten us. Thank you, sir.
Indeed, Nitin, words truly have great power. Now, I would like to request Vice Principal Father Davis to address the gathering.
Dear respected chief guest of the day, respected Father Principal, Father Lloyd, will be joining with us shortly, I think. Faculty of Christ Academy Junior College and my dear students. I am very happy to know that the second edition of our Junior College monthly publication is going to release today. First of all, I congratulate George sir and the entire team of our Junior College for arranging this event, even though in this pandemic situations, COVID-19. Because they have taken a great effort to release this magazine, the second edition of our magazine. I congratulate and appreciate your teamwork and your great effort once again. The magazine, the name itself shows that it gives the hope to each and every one of us. That means if you are ready to make use of your time and your talents, I think this is the best medium to each one of us. I know there are many ways you can showcase yourself and you can project to others. I would say this is one of the best mediums in your lifetime. As a student, you can improve your personal skills and you will able to think differently with the help of this magazine and with the help of this magazine. There are a lot of ways it helps us to understand our talents and abilities. Our Christ Academy always ready to give a framework to each student in the campus. If you are ready to keep yourself on the frame on this platform, you can do miracles in your life. So, dear students, I would say make use of your time and your space. And also, once again, I wish all the success your endeavors to each and everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Your words have yet again proven to be a source of inspiration to us all.
As students of today, media is a large part of our lives. Some of us are even looking to go down the path of media for our careers.
Curious minds of today have so many questions, so we would like to now introduce Mr. Sudhir Narayan sir, who will now engage in a question and answer session with our students.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, you're not audible.
Sir, you are on mute, sir.
Sudhir sir, you're on mute. Unable to unmute. Okay. We will wait for some time.
Yeah. Good afternoon, and thank you for having me over for your event on media studies. And I express my thanks particularly to Mr. Jochen Joseph and the Christ University administrators and faculty, and also to all the students. My sincere thanks to also the fellow distinguished dignitaries who have joined here to share their experiences, and it's a privilege to be here. Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir. Myself, Anu. It's my pleasure to talk to you and ask you the first question. What were the ups and downs in your career journey? How did you overcome them?
That's an interesting question. However, the answer could be pretty long-winding if you guys have the patience to listen.
Yes,
See,
sir,
the
you
most
can.
important thing that happens for a person who joins bureaucracy is the kind of red tape that you would see everywhere, and what possibly would be seen as a chronic trouble that plagues us, corruption. So the ups and downs actually relate to when you encounter corruption in public sphere. That is one thing, and also when you actually face resistance and opposition to the kind of work that you would want to do. So these are the kind of things that I've seen, starting from my first day in the service. So elaborating, so within the first month, this is off the record. I just hope that this is not going to be shared somewhere, because it's not going to be appropriate to speak about some things that happen within the within the ages of an office. So within the very first month of me joining an office way back in '98, so I was offered a bribe directly. Okay, and of course, as a novice who had just then finished training and joined there, and then was heading an independent office and not working under somebody, it was something of quite a shocker. And I was on the first time when it was done, I did not know how to react. So that was one of the biggest turning points of my life, which also defined who I would be throughout my career as a person and a service deliverer. See, basically, if at all I look at myself as a civil servant, I'm here to deliver service. I'm not here to act as an officer or to boss over people who come for help. So I'm here to facilitate and not to create trouble. So a lot of things was learned in the very first month. So the ups and downs basically include a lot of transfers that we see because we stick to our guns, and then because we don't cater to a certain section for that matter. So then it ensures that you would not be able to continue to serve, say, within an organization or within an office or within a city for that matter. So in my 22 years of service with the government, excluding the private sector service that which was about 5 years before joining the government. So I have seen my fair share of transfers. I possibly have seen 15 different destinations, And my longest tenure has been maybe 2 years, 2.5 years in a station. So that is another thing that happens. Plus, the ups, of course, are you know who you are actually dealing with. You know what's happening because of what you're doing at the office. You know who benefits. The reason I joined the civil services is because I was not able to relate to what I was doing as a marketing executive working in an international bank. So when I was working with Citibank and I was trying to sell auto loans and sell credit cards to people and head this bank's business in Bangalore back in 94, 95, I realized that I didn't understand who was benefiting because of this. And I also did not understand hiding a lot of things in the name of fine print. So basically, as a marketing person, I was also essentially lying to people to ensure that they buy they buy a car loans, or they buy housing loans, or they actually buy a credit cards, etc. So these services were being offered to people on the guise of ease, but they also came with a lot of conditions. So when I did not understand why these things had to be run this way, that was when I decided to join the civil services, write the exams and get in. Apart from I was in two minds, of course. I also wanted to be a teacher, so I continue to teach even to this day, though. So the ups, of course, the biggest up I possibly would talk about is me working as one of the creators of Aadhaar in the country today. So I was heading the creation of authentication and eKYC services plus financial inclusion when UIDAI was established in 2009. I joined UIDAI in 2010, and I continued to be there until we successfully were able to create the eKYC service. And thereafter, I left the organization. So to have created a service which actually can deliver 10 crore authentications in a day, that's an achievement that I possibly would be always proud of. Okay, so as somebody who did not have a technology education background and yet heading this and making my boss believe that I could deliver this, Mr. Nandan Nilekani back then, is possibly one of my favorite achievements. And also to have interacted with some of the best people who work in the bureaucracy and some of the best private sector intelligent minds from India and abroad for that matter. These actually have been my best moments yet. Of course, also working with people of Jammu and Kashmir when I was posted back there in 2009 to 2011 also rates pretty high in my eyes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. Myself Bano,
Good afternoon, Bhanu.
and I have a doubt in my career, sir. I want to become a civil servant also.
Okay.
I'm interested in IPS.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, we have
What
three
is?
streams, right, sir, in 11th standard. Three
Mm-hmm.
streams: science, commerce, and humanities. According
Yes.
to you, which is the best stream we can choose for civil service?
The best stream to choose for civil services is the best stream that you're good at. Okay, so I'll give you my own example.
Yes, sir.
When I studied my +2, based on my elders' advice, etc., I had chosen science. However, when I realized that I don't excel in science because I was really scared of looking at blood. Even though I excelled in biology and chemistry, etc., I was I used to be terrified of looking at blood, and I knew that I would not be getting into medicine. And I did not excel in physics or mathematics as much. So I knew that engineering was not my cup of tea. So when I knew these things, I chose to uh, move from science to arts. I pursued history and English literature during my college education. I have no regrets. And from arts, I also moved, I ambled away from arts and then studied management. So there is no right stream for civil services. The stream that you are good at is the right stream for any student.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Hello.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, I'm Punyashri, sir. I have a question. Who is your role model, sir?
That's a pretty tough question. I would answer it this way. One of my biggest role models ever would be my father. My father is not a big man. He is not a big shot. He is not a rich guy. But what he taught me in life was a life of honesty and being upright. So these lessons, even though I always was at loggerheads with my father as I grew up from my, during my formative years and during my college days, etc. To this day, of course, I'm so glad that my father is alive and is here with me. He is possibly my biggest role model because he initiated me into reading. He initiated me into being inquisitive. He also has imbibed me with these values for being upright and for being honest. Of course, I also have been influenced a lot by Mahatma Gandhi, Dr. Ambedkar, and Gautam Buddha. So a lot of people have influenced me over a period of time, but the role model continues to be my dad. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Myself, Smita Evangeline. Sir, we know that you're interested in writing, photography, and you are a voracious reader. Tell us, how do you manage your time?
That's, see, we all have 24 hours. There was this boss who told me in the initial days of my career, when I was actually sitting at office at 7 when he had called me. He was not able to find me at home and he called me at the office and he found me there. So he said, Sudhir, you have to remember one thing. Those who sit late at work, unless there is a crisis, is either inefficient or doesn't want to go home because he's scared of the people he finds there. Okay. So the first thing that we have to ensure is, even as we love our work, we also have to love ourselves enough so that we have enough time to recuperate, come back fresh every day to tackle the problems that work offers us. There are, of course, tenures when you would be busy 24/7 sometimes, or you're still at work at 12 in the midnight, or you are called to attend work at 3 in the morning, etc. So these are all part of being being there in the civil services. However, it is not something that happens every day. Okay, so managing work, and let's also face this. As an officer who heads offices, you always will find people who would be working along with you and who would be doing a lot of work for you. So you have to learn how to delegate, how to win their confidence, how to instill confidence in them to tackle problems themselves. So when you do this, one, you're actually making people proud of what they're doing, making them independent, and also creating time for yourselves. Okay, so these are things that, thanks to a lot of people who have guided me over time, this has been the case with me too. So I find time for myself every day, regardless, even if I come back at 12 in the midnight from work sometimes.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Good afternoon, sir. Myself, Rakshita. So my question is, a few of us are planning a career in civil services. So what exactly, according to you, is the subject we need to opt for that would help us get into civil services?
The pattern of civil services has changed over a period of time. So everybody needs to be good with general knowledge. Unlike in earlier days, when you also had to be excellent with the optional subject that you would choose for your preliminary exam, today that is not the case. Everybody is being judged on the same platform. So you all need to know the general things that we have to learn in our high school days and in your +2 days. So essentially, you have to be good with history, you have to be good with geography, you have to be good with current affairs, with our Indian constitution, with our economy, with basic statistics, with basic mental ability and things like that. Okay, and basic English for that matter. So if you're good with these things, then you would definitely do well in your compulsory papers. And the best optional paper, as I said in the beginning, just like the best stream for civil services is the stream that you are good at and you are interested in. Civil services is just one of the career options. It is not the only option that is available. And let us understand one thing, it is open to everyone. Anybody who has done a graduate course is eligible to write the exams, and your marks don't count. It does not matter how many times you had to write the exams to pass your subjects. Nobody is going to judge your performance in the civil services exams based on this. Your performance in civil services exams will be just only based on how you perform in those exams. Your selection is based on that. So do not worry about the best subject. See, I did not study geography when I wrote civil services exams. Instead of taking either Indian history for that matter, I opted for geography because I thought that I wanted to learn something new. I had never learned geography except during my high school days. I thought, let me learn something new because history is too vast. I do not want to spend a lot of time trying to remember dates, remember names of people, and so on and so forth. Let me try something else. And incidentally, without trying to be modest, let me say this. I was one of the highest scorers of geography in civil services exams back then when I wrote the exams. And there were people and even coaching institutes that had approached me to write guides and books for them back then. Okay, so do not worry about what is the best subject. Remember two things. One, your interest in the subject and how much you're going to excel in that subject matter, and your willingness to go deep and not be a shallow reader. It does not matter how much you had scored in graduation, etc., but it does matter how much knowledge you possess. Okay, thank you.
Very good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Myself, Kritika. In
Hi,
India, we
Kritika.
see a lot of students take up science for their higher education. But when it comes to civil services, people opt for humanities. Sir, could you tell why is it?
Let us look at this conundrum in a slightly different way. What is the kind of pressure that children face from their parents and peers, that is friends and relative circles, even the society in general, to opt for science in India? It's very, very high, right? So almost everybody, whether they have the aptitude for science, whether they have an interest in science or not, is pushed to take science in their +2 days, right? And possibly because of that, a lot of people, now we have so many engineering and medical colleges, dental colleges, and such other technological institutes that have mushroomed all over the country. Okay, so a lot of people pay a lot of capitation fee, a lot of tuition fee, and do their courses. Not everybody excels. So now let us look at this. So when people do not excel in what they are doing, but are forced to do these courses, they have to gravitate towards something that they're good at or they are interested in, right? So this is how a lot of engineers, even though they have done engineering, even though they might, they have studied, there are some options in civil services like physics, maths, and mechanical engineering, etc. They opt to write, to take up humanities. Also, there is another notion. They always, notions that are very popular because a lot of people go to coaching institutes. There is this notion that if you take up this subject, you score well. If you take up that subject, you score well. So there are these popular myths that abound. So one of the popular myths when we were writing exams was that public administration is a great subject to score, or writing, taking up literature as an option is a great way to score marks. Okay. However, I have seen my own friends who actually have taken up pure science subjects for civil services and scored terrific numbers and made it to the civil services because of that. So it is a myth that humanities does better than others. It is not true. If you look at the lists that are published year after year, you'll find people who are from engineering streams and medical streams doing exceedingly well, and they generally have opted for subjects from their own study days. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, I am Aman Bhaskar, and I am the editor of Hindi for the magazine Feathers of Hope. And sir, my question is, the youth of Bihar mostly wants to pursue their career as a civil servants. So, sir, what problems they are facing to get another job? Why they love civil service the most?
Okay, without any bias towards any people within the country, let us look at the economic development of states within the country. Bihar ranks at the bottom, if not at the as the bottommost state, but definitely in the bottom of the entire heap that we have within the country. And Bihar also is one of the most populous states, right? Be it in sheer numbers or even as, say, per square kilometer of area within India. Okay, so poverty is a lot more than many other states, and that's how we have this acronym that has been coined to reflect them: BIMARU, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, and Rajasthan and Uttar Pradesh. So these are the states that have not seen the same kind of development that we see down the Vindhyas. Say, if you look at the states of Gujarat, Maharashtra, and Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, now Telangana also, and Kerala and Tamil Nadu, the social and economic parameters of development rank far higher as compared to the northern states. And that's why we also see a lot of out-migration from the poorer states towards the richer states in the country. So the industry has not flourished in Bihar, even though Bihar is very, very rich in mineral resources. Of course, as you start growing older and then as you start pursuing studies and start reading research papers, you would see that any place which is rich in mineral resources has not always fared greatly industrially, has not always developed economically. It is the case with the states of India, for that matter. It is this case with the countries in Africa. Most of the African countries are very, very rich in minerals. But are they developed? They see extreme poverty like the states that we have here in India. So unless and until we start looking at development, not just exploiting minerals, for that matter, Bihar is rich in coal, rich in iron ore, rich in so many other minerals, including uranium deposits, etc. However, we haven't seen industries coming up in Bihar. If this changes, as it has changed, say, in Gujarat or in Karnataka or in Tamil Nadu, these are some of the states which actually see a lot less number of people vying for government jobs as compared to the North Indian states or the lesser developed states in the country. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
The floor is open to more questions. Any other students willing to ask?
Is Samruta. So, what were your responsibilities when you were asked to work?
Come again, please.
What were your responsibilities when you were asked to work?
What were my responsibilities when I was asked to work? This is, I'm sorry, the question is still vague to me. My responsibilities at an office?
Yes,
is that what you mean to say?
Yes, like anything.
See, most important, my first job was as a financial advisor to the Navy in the Eastern Naval Command of, okay. So, and I was posted in Visakhapatnam. So my job was to render, evaluate project proposals for expenditure within the Navy, evaluate them and agree with them based on the proposals, and also ask their pertinent questions if at all I do not agree with them, and provide my concurrence. Okay. So any kind of expenditure that this organization would do, which was stockpiling everything that the Indian Navy required in the Eastern Command, would go through me. Okay, so back then the budget of this organization per annum was about 300 odd crores. So that's about 3,000 million rupees. So during those days, my responsibility was to look into the system, see what kind of stocks do the Navy have for all these items of procurement, and why they are procuring, and how they are procuring, etc. So essentially, I had to evaluate the statement of case for initiating any kind of purchase action, accept the vendors or accept the suppliers that they have suggested, or the mode of tendering. They could actually go to a single source, or they could go to a limited number of people, or they could actually call anyone to participate in this bidding. Okay, so and thereafter also verify if everything is is creating a level playing field for people to participate in this bidding process and give their best prices. I also had to monitor whether these things are getting supplied on time, and I was responsible for making payments. I was responsible for audit too. So these were the kind of things that I started with. So over a period of time, I have done a whole gamut of different kinds of activities. So this is how I started my career. So where I was looking at project finance and financial expenditure, procurement procedures, how to ensure that we have things on time, and how to ensure that we have things at the best prices, and how to ensure that we have fair competition, and how to ensure that we attract more people, manufacturers directly to quote, than to go to the local vendors, or than to buy from third parties. People who were not manufacturing, but were not even stockists, but were traders. So essentially, how to transform the procurement processes in Indian Navy back then. Will that satisfy you, or do you have a different doubt?
No, sir, that's enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a question for Dr. Mugushya. My question, sorry, yeah, I am an educator. So my question to you, ma'am, is can leadership be taught? Can leadership be taught?
Hi, how are you, Susan?
I'm good.
Very, very interesting question. Before I answer that, can I just thank Mr. Sudhir for his enlightenment, because it's made me think a lot about certain things in my life. The answer to your question, Susan, is yes, it can, but it can only be taught when people are ready to leave their personal prison. Okay, because I think that, well, not I think, I know, and I believe this absolutely passionately. We put ourselves in prisons. We don't know how good we are, because we always need approval of other people. And I'd say to all the young students here, you're starting off on your life now. You were born to be great. Okay, and don't let anybody tell you anything different. Now, Sudhir, I know that you've made a career in, the civil service. That's where I started off, and I had to leave because I could not stand being told what to do by other people who knew less than me, right? So I then became an entrepreneur, and I thought to myself, I only pass one time through this life, and I want everything, and I want it now. And through my career, I've had many, many, many setbacks. I think the biggest setback was cancer, when I honestly thought that I wasn't going to see tomorrow. But somehow or other, God's grace and God's love is absolutely superb. And if you all know what you want out of life, and this takes time, if you just give yourself some quiet time to think, why am I here? Why am I here? What is it that I'm good at? And pursue that, then I think there's no stopping you. You're unstoppable. So the answer is yes, Leadership can be taught, but you have to be with people who can recognize your strengths rather than focus on your limitations. And let's face it, there are just too many people on this earth that see the glass half empty rather than half full. I hope that answers your question, Susan.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Carry on,
Thank
dear.
you so much, sir, as well as ma'am. That was not only interesting, and I'm sure all of us have much more insight about not only our careers, but life in general. Thank you again.
Dancing is more than just moving body parts, a pathway of expressing your deepest inner thoughts. So now let's gear up to enjoy a mesmerizing dance performance by Jyotirmay.
Great one, Jyotirmay. Your performance has truly left me speechless.
Imparting knowledge and sharing experiences with young minds is truly enlightening. It is with great pleasure I request Dr. Bogosian ma'am to interact with our students and impart her knowledge.
Right. Okay. Are we doing the PowerPoint, Mr. Jottin?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So if we can maybe.
You have the PowerPoint. Can you do it from your end?
Well, no, I'll tell you what, I'll just talk to it because otherwise it will, I'll just talk it through. Okay.
All right. Yeah, fine.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you very, very much for inviting the English lady to this prestigious occasion. I'm very, very grateful. I love Bangalore. I was there last year, the Silicon Valley of India. And I have to sort of tell you up front that one of my biggest weaknesses has been IT. and I'm learning very, very quickly. And at my ripe old age, I've just received a level 2 certificate in digital marketing. So there we go. So we never ever stop learning. Before I started, preparing my presentation for you all, I looked on your school website and I was very, very impressed with your vision statement, particularly the bit which says that your school is aiming to form leaders who are intellectually competent, spiritually mature, morally upright, psychologically integrated, physically healthy, and socially acceptable, who will champion the cause of justice, love, truth, and peace, and who are ever open for further growth. And that was really, really inspirational for me, particularly when I heard Mr. Sudhir talk about the kind of experiences that he had when he first started work to do with corruption. So what I'm saying to you is, as future leaders, because that is what you will be, as future leaders, particularly in the area of media studies, particularly in the area of digitalization, you have an enormous responsibility, and it's something that you really need to work very, very hard on, which is about reporting the truth. Whether we like it or not, our future is already dominated by the digital industry, and the digital industry can present facts and figures that are manipulated to present a particular slant on events. And this is something that we really, really do need to develop this skill of clear thinking. All right, clear thinking that comes with responsibility. As future leaders, technology is going to be within our toolkit. You can't get away from it. It's something that is absolutely revolutionizing the world. I mean, we've seen it through COVID, the way that, lessons are now beginning to take place, how businesses are, developing their platforms to compete with everybody on a very, very global issues. And of course, digitalization is convenient, and it's also familiar with those who know how to use it properly. I would say to you, in relation to your media education, that media literacy is an essential skill in the digital age. It's essential because it enables us to think critically. How many people are duped by what is presented on Instagram, on Facebook? I mean, every time I go on there, I see these slimming pills that if I take 3, I'm going to be so thin like a credit card the next day. And I know very, very well that, that is not truth at all, but it taps into your deepest emotions. And as students, as young people, you have really got to become smart consumers of products and information. And this is a skill that only your teachers can give you. And it's inextricably linked to your school values. Truth never goes away. Truth never, ever goes away. And there have been so many instances in my life where in my business, I could have made money, but I would have made it unethically. And whether we like it or not, karma happens. Okay, karma happens. And it's about really looking at how you create media, particularly through your newspaper, how you create media responsibly, how you report on things that are actually true and that you're not giving a slant on it like, the beloved Mr. Trump does, where, that's the way it is. And that is his answer to everything, so we do have to question that. It's also about you being able to recognize points of view. And this is very, very critical in the media age. It's about really understanding the role of media in our culture, because different cultures present things in different ways. And one of my, I think, biggest learning points was to understand how to present the same thing to different cultures, but not in the way that I want to present it, but in the way that they will understand. And I think media messages are constructed to use creative language with its own rules, but you have to understand those rules. You have to understand what it is that the media is trying to portray. And most important of all, I think, is that, you know, media must be used for the common good. And I'm talking a lot of imperatives now, must. But it's so important that, you know, media is not used to gain power or to create profit. Of course, those things are important, but we've got to think about this very, 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 very intelligently. What is the message that we're trying to convey? Who might we hurt by the message that we're giving out? So all these things have got to be considered from many, many different angles. And, you know, one of the things that I think that your lessons will really help you with, if you really, really focus on them, is develop your skills of analysis, because analysis is crucial in the digital age. Evaluation. How are you going to evaluate things? Because this is another skill that is extremely important in any line of work, whether you go into the civil service, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're working from home, whether you're the next Bill Gates. You know, you've got to be able to evaluate what you're doing. And the skills of synthesis, the skills of, sorry, I'm working from home, so you can see, you know, once again, all these interruptions. The skills of deduction, the skills of synthesis, and the skills of abstraction. Now, I could go into that a lot more, but I know we haven't really got the time for this. But you are very, very lucky in that, you know, in your school, these, I'm sure, are things that Mr. Jottin himself, because he's very, very good at making sure that, you know, you analyze things and, you know, develop that and have your own point of view, and do not waver from it, because truth is truth. There's no other way from it. And people will say, oh yes, but if you do this and if you do this, could you just excuse me 1 minute, just 1 minute, just, I'm sorry, I'm on a Zoom, I'll call you later. Okay, thank you. Oh my God. Right. Okay. Okay, so first and foremost, it's very, very much about responsibility. And secondly, it's very much about the kind of knowledge that you acquire, because, you know, what was very fashionable 3 weeks ago is already changing. I mean, I never ever thought that in my business I would need to use Instagram or Snapchat, because these are things that never interested me. And now all of a sudden I'm having to really dumb down the kind of things that I do in order to reach a larger audience. Now, okay, you know, I'm finding it difficult, which is why I did this digital literacy course, which has taught me a phenomenal amount, you know, especially about search engine optimization. I mean, I actually thought that search engine optimization was not fixed, you know, that's you know, but now I'm learning that if I use the keywords in content, I can reach at the very, very top of, you know, the internet. Artificial intelligence, visual reality, robotics, it's all there, it's all coming. And, you know, what better place could you be in than Bangalore to learn all of these things? You are so lucky. I would give my right arm to be with you, to go into these industries, to learn these things, because this would make me, I'm sure, a lot better in my own business. So what I'm saying to you is take advantage of it. There was some interesting data that I just wanted to share with you, that business leaders now are using social media more than any other media to get themselves noticed. Social media is crucial. So I would just say to you, okay, how do we use this ethically? I think that's about all that I want to say about, digitalization, because if I start talking more about it, you'll realize I don't know too much about it, because I'm still learning, I'm still learning. So if there are any questions, please, do ask, and I'll answer them as best as I can.
Ma'am, good afternoon, ma'am.
Hi.
I'm Saranya, ma'am. I'm the editor-in-chief of a magazine monthly publication that's Feathers of Hope. So, ma'am, we're really, really happy to have you here. The way you speak, it's
I'm
like
delighted
really
to be here.
It's an honor to have you, ma'am. Ma'am, I have a question. Ma'am, what, according to you, are the essential characteristics a leader should possess?
Humility, servitude, vision, and the ability to start where people are at and get your hands dirty and work with them, rather than, and I hate to say this, but I've taught in a lot of Indian schools, and if there is something I cannot stand is, people giving orders without showing people what to do. If you're going to give an order, fine, not a problem, but actually stand with that person and show them how you want it done, and stop criticizing when they get it wrong. Because, for me, it's so very, very important to maintain the best possible relationships. Nobody should be in an institution where there is fear. And it's fear that puts you in that prison. Do you remember when I said to you, people put themselves in their own cage, they put themselves in their own prison because they're frightened. They're actually frightened to say what they think. Well, if I don't know what you think, how can I lead you? It's a two-way process. And this is a cultural thing. Indian people are very, very polite. When I was principal, nobody actually told me that they disagreed with me. I only found that out when I'd listened to the subtext of what people were saying. But, that's not my job. And it's about creating a climate of honesty where everybody feels valued. And then you can reach for the moon.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Anishka Verma.
Good afternoon. Your name is very similar to my daughter's name. Right. My daughter's called Anulka, but phonetically it sounds similar. Yes. What can I do for you?
So, ma'am, my question is, among all the directors, head teachers, and senior managers you have come across, can you tell us a common feature that you have observed?
A common feature, right, of all the directors that, right, let me see. I think a common feature is that everybody wants to do the very best that they can, but they don't know how. Okay, that's one. And the other one is pride gets in the way. Pride gets in the way. And, for me, the best leaders are the ones that actually say, do you know what? I don't know how to do this, but I'm going to find out. Because when you do that, you create an organization where everybody learns. I don't believe for 1 minute that there is a single person on this earth that knows everything. A lot of them pretend that they do, but deep, deep down, it's not possible. And I think it's about a learning culture. And just because you are in a position of authority does not mean to say that you know everything. I mean, I'm learning from my grandchildren. If you saw my 5-year-old granddaughter, the way that she can use Instagram, it is unbelievable. And I'm sitting there and I'm saying, Louisa, show me how to do that. Yeah, so I would say that that those are the things that prevent people from being great. Sorry, does that answer your question? Yeah? Okay, good. Because as a woman, I sometimes
Thank
have
you,
the
ma'am.
ability to talk in a different direction.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
You're welcome, my love.
Ma'am, is it possible to show the PPT now? Will you be able to present it?
Well, do you know what? I had another look at it, and I'll send it to you later because I've noticed a couple of spelling mistakes.
Right.
You know, it was done in a bit of a haste.
Yeah.
Ma'am, I have a question for you.
Sure.
You mentioned that you're an entrepreneur. So how did you begin?
Well, I think it started when I was very, very young, but I didn't realize what it was then. When I was very young, I found it quite difficult to accept orders from people. And I also found it quite difficult to do the same thing that everybody else was doing. You know, I always had my own ideas. And I think it started at a very, very early age. And then as I got older, I realized that there was just far too much bureaucracy in the organizations that I worked with. And this bureaucracy was actually killing my spirit. And it was killing my spirit in a way that was, you know, why do I have to write the same thing 6 different times, but we're talking about the same subject? Because I like lean organizations. Do it once, get it over and done with, move on. But, you know, I was having to sign this for this person and sign this for somebody else. And when I became a principal of an Indian school, I just could not believe how many papers I had to sign that were linked to the same topic. So that's one of the first things that went. And I created a revolution in my school where I got rid of textbooks. Can you imagine what the parents were saying to me? You know, we have to finish the portion. And I was saying, well, you'll finish the portion, but your child won't learn anything. So what do you want to do? Do you want an intelligent child, or do you want to finish the portion? Which one's more important? So, you know, I suppose my entrepreneurship started from then. And then if you're really honest with yourselves, you will have flashes of inspiration. But what you do is you mute them. You mute those flashes of inspiration because you think, oh, I can't do that, or what will people think of me, or this, that, and the other. And I'll share a little secret with you now. I'm actually 68 years old, right? And I only think that I'm starting to live. And I'm starting to live because what I've always wanted to do was to be an actress, but my mother never let me do that. Because, you know, in my days, it was that you were either going to be a teacher or a nurse or a housewife, and none of those things appealed to me. So my next entrepreneurship is about starting an acting school, and it's starting an acting school for young people who didn't do well academically. Right, because there is room on this earth for all of us, right? Nobody needs to be a failure. Nobody needs to be a failure. So I'm working with a group of people at the moment, looking at possibilities of, you know, developing that. So let's see. You never know, you know, and if I fail, so what? It doesn't matter. At least I've tried. And it's the trying that matters. It's not about the success, because the success is easy. It's trusting yourself that you want to do something different, but it's also about helping everybody else. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am, it does.
And it's never too late to learn, right? Never, ever. And it's about, you know, your schools should be havens of learning. Industry should be a haven of learning, because, you know, media and digitalization is going to make that gap in society wider. If you don't know how to use the internet, if you don't know how to, word process, etc., you know, you're going to get behind. You're going to get really behind. And, you know, if you can help the older generation, like your grandparents and your aunts and your uncles, do so, because otherwise, you know, knowledge is power, isn't it? And the power is the power of the internet. So it's very important that we have that opportunity to, you know, to learn. And it doesn't matter how young you are or how old you are, knowledge is knowledge. Have I stunned you into silence?
No, I had 49, so I thought life is over, but you've shown me so much. Thank you.
No, I mean, you know, it's age is just a number. It's what you feel inside. And, you know, this is another example of being put into that cage. Society says that after the age of 40 or 50 or whatever, women in particular, women, you know, shouldn't do this, shouldn't do that. To hell with it. You know, no. Life belongs to the living. And I just want as many opportunities as I possibly can before I'm finally called to my maker. You know? But it's you know, it's there and it's great. And, you know, failure does not faze me. Failure is learning. Failure is learning. And, you know, what really annoys me about our education system, for example, is that everything is based on examinations. Nonsense, absolute nonsense, because at the end of the day, just because you get 100% does not make you an Einstein. What it does, it shows that you've got a good memory and you can answer the questions. But does it make you a better person? I don't think so. But then again, they've not made me Secretary of State for Education, so I can't change it yet. Notice yet.
It's not the students. Everyone can ask questions. I think she's really interested in answering questions.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Myself, Anu. According to you, how can someone be a successful entrepreneur?
Trust in yourself. You have to trust in yourself, and you have to, you know, really deaden this gremlin that sits on your shoulder and keeps saying things like, oh, you can't do that, you're too old, you're too young, you're too fat, you're too thin, you're not intelligent enough, etc., etc. Silence it. And really, when you have an idea, you know, talk to somebody who can execute it. So, for example, I am a wonderful ideas person. I know my strengths, but I'm not very good at systems. I'm still learning. So I've got people around me, particularly in my business, where I have this idea and then they systemize it for me, because they say, right, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. And the reason I'm not good at systems, well, I'm not that good at systems, I mean, I can do them if I have to, is because I'm wired in a way that my ideas just keep going all the time. I mean, I'm just exhausted with ideas. You know, will this work? Will this work? Will this work? Will this work? And my kids are really fed up of me because I'll sit there at the table and I'll say, right, I think I want to do so and so. And they'll say, Mama, don't you think it's time to retire? And I hear that word and I'm, not at all, not at all, not at all. You can retire, I won't. But it is about being an entrepreneur is having an idea and then finding the way that you can turn it into a system and then evaluate as you go. All right. Because if you evaluate as you go, then you know which bits are working and which bits aren't.
So, ma'am, what do you do for encouragement?
Right. Well, I am a fanatic gym goer. So every morning I wake up at 5:30 and I go for a 10-kilometer run and then I go to the gym. Because for me, that's a way of, you know, if I have movement in my life, I can think. And it's very, very important. You know, when I saw the young lady dance, sort of like earlier on, I think we need to have in schools a lot more creativity, particularly in dance and in movement, because when you move your body, sends sort of like endorphins to your brain, and then you can start thinking creatively. The worst thing is being sedentary and just thinking, because that gets you nowhere. You have to have movement. I read somewhere, really interesting fact. I read somewhere that when, Mozart, the famous composer, before he could compose any music whatsoever, he used to have to go for a carriage ride so that his body somatically was, getting rhythm, and then he could compose music. So for me, my pastime is the gym. I'm an absolute devotee of Netflix. I absolutely binge on Netflix. And I'm trying to think, what was the last one that I saw? Have you seen Ozark? Have you watched Ozark on Netflix? Oh, the Ozark. I don't know whether you can get it in India, but oh my goodness, it's brilliant. The way that, the filmmaker, gets you on this sort of like cascade of emotions. It's brilliant. So yes, and I read a lot. I think I'm just a very, very curious lifelong learner. And also, one of my mantras is, if there's something that I can't do, then I've got to learn how to do it. At whatever cost, I have to learn how to do it, because it's another thing that puts you in that prison, thinking, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. If you think you can't do it, go out there and find somebody who can, learn it, and then, it's one thing less, isn't it, to worry about. And then I'm mad about my grandchildren. If you came to my house and saw the toy shop that that is housed in my house, because I want to give them the best opportunities, and I suppose the other thing is I love people. I adore people. Doesn't matter who it is, because you just learn so much. And my mother, it was interesting when Sudhi was talking about the influence of his father. The influence for me was my mother, because my mother always used to say to me that the person who is really intelligent knows how to talk with people from all walks of society, whether it's a beggar or whether it's a prince. And, everybody's got human worth and human value. And that's something that, that I've lived my life by, really, because you can learn something from everybody.
Thank you so
Okay,
much,
I have a
ma'am.
question. Yeah, thank you. I have a question for both of you. How is language influencing our lives? Language, the use of language. Both through Sudhir sir and Mugushim.
I thought you'd ask me first.
I'm letting you. I'm requesting you to go for it first. So I will.
Thank you. You're very polite, Sudhir. Thank you. I think, well, obviously, without language, we can't do anything, can we? But for me, it's about the subtlety of language and being able to really understand subtext. Because language is language, we use the transactional language, but behind that transactional language, there is also something that somebody is trying to say but is not saying. And I think the really wise person is the one that can read behind what is actually being said. And you can do that in a variety of ways. You can either look at it in terms of body language, because body language tells you a lot. But also, if it's language in print, you have to keep asking yourself, what is not being said? And trust yourself that you'll know what it is. And I keep coming back to this, to this thing of trust. you know, if there's one gift that I could give anybody, it would be the gift of self-esteem. Because without self-esteem and without really thinking that you are worthy and you have things to communicate, you know, you won't be successful. Over to you, Sudhir.
Thank you, Bhugushya. It's been a pleasure listening to you, and there's so much to learn from you. Thank you.
Oh, goodness me. And I was thinking the same about you. So there we go. And you, Susan.
Okay, and to talk about language, see, in a country like India, where language is found in multitudes, there's a lot of pressure to learn multiple languages. So you have the mother tongue that you speak at home, you have another language that you learn at a school and college, and then there is the language that is also required to be learned because you're supposed to learn a particular language because of a policy that we have by the government, etc. So many of us, even if you take the state of Karnataka for that matter, we have multitudes of languages apart from Kannada. Kannada, though, is the official language of the state. We have Tulu, we have Konkani, we have a large number of Telugu and Tamil-speaking population, and a lot of other languages which are spoken in small pockets, like Bihari, which is spoken in coastal Karnataka, or for that matter, Havyaka and Araganada, and so on and so forth. So it becomes difficult, when I'm looking at it from a slightly different perspective than how Bhugushya is looking at. So there is pressure on students to learn language and to excel in language, and it has assumed a lot bigger proportion than just a medium of communication. The expectation that you excel in English so that you can impress the interviewer to gain that post that you're looking for becomes paramount. I'm just giving you an example, taking example of English. It could be Hindi if you move into a central government office and you're working in, say, northern part of India, or you're in Delhi and you're into policy making. Okay, so language, of course, is very important, but for the prime reason for language is to communicate. It is not language in itself is, somebody excelling in language in itself is of no purpose unless that communication of the language is effective. So we learn English, we learn Hindi, we learn Kannada, we learn Tamil, but if we are not able to communicate what needs to be said, then language fails. So slightly different, and I do believe, of course, not all of us. Yeah.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Myself, Satyaja. How difficult or easy is it to gain the trust of people and get the assurance that they can look up to you?
Wow. I think if you are congruent, you will get their trust. You have to be congruent. You can't, it's what you believe in, what you think, and how you act. And if those things are in alignment, people will trust you. Sudhir, I don't know whether you wanted to add anything to that. Or...
I would like to add, thanks for that. If you're, as Bhugushya said, if your actions are in line with the words that you've spoken, it's easy to win the trust of people. Working at an office, it's so easy to say, I am an open-minded person, and you all can come to me, talk to me, and I'm not going to hold it against you. However, it doesn't happen so easily. Most of us are not open to criticism. So trust actually happens when there is a method where even a person is open to criticism and open to suggestions and open to advice. A person who is occupying a chair, say, it could be in a school for that matter. A teacher could be, not open-minded and hence may fail to gain the trust of students. Okay, The teacher would be extremely trusted when the teacher is able to open up to the students and make them realize, yes, I'm willing to listen to you. So trust is about your willingness to listen and doing what you say. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Dia, can we proceed?
Good afternoon.
Ma'am, I'm so happy to have you right now. Ma'am,
Thank you.
what is your message to the younger generation, ma'am?
Right. Several messages, really. One is really think about healthy body, healthy mind, because it's very, very easy, just to think that, you go, I mean, if I had my way, I'd ban alcohol. But that's another issue. But I think it's very, very important to really look after your health. If you look after your health, then you're well set up for later life. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is not to take personally any criticisms that are thrown at you. Okay, because if you're not careful, those criticisms you can make those criticisms real, if you see what I mean. Of course, everybody has to say if something is not right, that's fine. But look at criticism as a learning experience rather than something that is going to damage your self-esteem. Okay, so that's another very important point. And the other thing is have an open mind. You've really got to have an open mind and sift out what fits with your value system and what doesn't.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and what about your message, Sudhir sir?
One, your generation is the most intelligent generation to have, or that is still walking on this earth. Simple. So it is also because of the intelligence that has been accrued and passed on to you. You have the intelligence of all those generations that have lived before you and that are living along with you. Okay. So use this intelligence prudently. And apart from what Mokushia has said with respect to health and humility and being open-minded to criticism, also ensure that you have respect for yourself and others. And most importantly, there are so many ways to waste away. There are so many ways to waste away. Addiction is just around the corner. Thanks to internet, it could be the games available out there. It could be the social media for that matter. It could be so many other things. Okay, so beware that there are so many pitfalls all around us and it's so easy to fall into them, despite all the intelligence that you possess. So beware of this and live a great life and keep doing all the wonderful things that you're capable of.
I'd just like to
Thank
add to
you,
that,
Paul.
Sudhir. Sorry, I just wanted to add to what Sudhir said because it's just jogged my memory of something that, I come across an awful lot of people who their self-esteem is based on how many likes they get on social media. For goodness sake, this is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. They sit there, they're glued to the phone or to their iPad because they've posted something. And then how many likes have I had? Who cares? I mean, seriously, who cares? And, we have some very, very serious incidents where young people have committed suicide because of social media. What on earth is going on? This is ridiculous. And I think it's very important that you do not see the internet as some form of reality because it isn't. right? It isn't. It's part of it, but it is not reality. So all the likes and all the dislikes and whatever have you, I mean, I'm happy when, on the internet, I get dislikes because at least I know I've touched a nerve somewhere and that person is still breathing. But, just be careful of that because that is no way to live. And you could get addicted to that particular thing.
Thank you, both of you. It has been a pleasure meeting both on this platform. Yes, we are enlightened. We are enlightened with your wisdom, your intelligence, your wit, all of that. All right. Is there any more questions from the students, or shall we move ahead? Yeah, Sharma, we'll move on. Yeah, thank you.
I must say that we students need to take a moment and acknowledge how lucky we are to be able to soak up all of this knowledge from two people who are so experienced. I'm sure down the road we will remember these talks. Thank you so much, Dr. Boghosia and Sudhir sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Now, I would like to call upon Vice Principal Father Davis to announce the release of the magazine.
So thank you very much. Thank you very much for your valuable time, Sudhir sir and Dr. Boghosia. I would like to express my sincere gratitude in the name of our principal and all our staff and students. Thank you very much. Thank you for your inspirational words and inspirational time to us. Thank you. Also,
thank
you. Special guests of the day, and in the name of our principal, wishing you all the success and appreciate of your efforts. I release our second edition of magazine, Pradesh of
So, a very good afternoon to one and all present here. I, the editor-in-chief of the magazine, take this as my privilege to present before you the second edition of the Feathers of Hope magazine. This publication is indeed a special one for two reasons. Number one, this being published in front of two great personalities, Boghosia ma'am and Sudhir Narayana sir, and this is the first edition that includes articles from all over the Christ Academy Junior College. Now, getting into the magazine, we first have the poetry section titled as the magic of words. And this is true, isn't it? The editorial board has included great literary pieces in here. The next section, click it, the photography section. The name itself describes it, isn't it? I'm sure these clicks will surely awaken the nature lover in you. Here comes the short story section. The teachers and students have done a great job in submitting articles for this section as well. Up now, we have Pin It to Win It, the sports section. We have an article citing the difference between the facilities then and now, and also the current sports sensational news articles. Up now, we have Joy of Moments, the dance section. Lighten your heart and dance with all your soul. That's what the section teaches us. Add color to your life, our art section. This is to portray the great talent of our budding artists. Take a quick look. Now, beyond the voice, the music section. Various topics have been opted by the students and their connection with music. Very beautiful. Please have a quick look. Now, pen it down, the article section, where various topics have been selected by the students and teachers and have been formed in para-wise. coming to the most interesting part of our magazine, News and Views of Christ Academy, where all the updates are updated in this section of the monthly details. Now, Hindi section. I'm sure, read these poems and you'll surely travel into the world of shairis. I would like to thank all teachers and students for submitting wonderful articles to make this magazine a success. As Bagosha ma'am said, the only real prison is fear, and the only freedom is freedom from fear. And now, hereby, we, the members of the editorial board, present to you the second edition of the Feathers of Hope magazine. Thank you and happy reading.
Thank you.
Thank you, Saranya. Everybody's hard work has truly paid off.
Now, it is my pleasure to invite Susan ma'am to, on behalf of all of my friends here, to facilitate the efforts put in by our students.
Thank you, my dear. So let me begin by saying that I believe in the dictum that something that's well begun is half done. So that is something I truly believe in. When you begin well, it is half done. So I was fortunate the last time to be with you all in this endeavor when you began this, when you pioneered the effort. It was so well done that I'm sure that it will go on. And I see the zeal, continuing, the flame within you is continuing. So what I really admire about you is your attention to detail. The fact that you take care of every small thing, every small part of your magazine, you're very proud of it. The fact that you work on it with pride and zeal and enthusiasm, it will carry it forward. So my best wishes to all of you, and may this work continue, ahead. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, ma'am. Your words were truly motivating, and I'm sure they will inspire us to move ahead with even more zeal.
Now, it is with utmost elation I invite Shiba ma'am to encourage our students and inspire their efforts.
Yeah. Good evening, dear principal, vice principal, special guest of the day, teachers, and my dear students. It gives me immense pleasure to be here in the midst of young people who have shown such great potential. The first edition of Feathers shows your commitment to excellence, and you have proved that when a group with willingness and enterprise gets together, abnormal circumstances are no obstacle. At this point, let me wish you all the best in all your endeavors. Continue with the same spirit and zeal. You will definitely achieve everything you set your hearts on. God bless you all, children. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. That was indeed inspiring.
Thank you.
Now, I would like to request Martin sir to render the vote of thanks.
Hi all. What a wonderful evening this is. So lively. Students, you are so good asking questions, not sparing an IAS officer, not sparing our genius. Beautifully done. Beautifully done. You are always there with your energy, with your spirit, and thank you very much for that, first of all. Respected Mr. Sudhir Narayana IAS sir, Dr. Bagushia ma'am, beloved Reverend Dr. Joyce CMI, our principal, Reverend Father Davis CMI, our vice principal, and my students and dear colleagues in the meeting. It's my privilege to have this very August meeting to say a vote of thanks. Actually, I'm delighted. I, on behalf of Christ Academy PU College and the entire management and colleagues, and on my own behalf, extend a very hearty vote of thanks to all speakers for gracing us with your valuable presence. I must mention our deep sense of appreciation for the speakers for their earnest work on the subject, which is very useful and important in the current periods to motivate, to lead our young children, especially our boys and girls. Sir, Sudhir Narayana sir, your answers to the questions of the students, so good, sir. Most of you are asking about the civil services. See how they want to become, how they want to get into the civil service program. See the genuine doubts they had, and how nicely you answered all these things, sir, from your own experiences. To get into the civil service, you need not be a genius from the very early stage. You can take step by step and you can reach your goal. Sir, the answers was awesome. Thank you very much, sir, for this particular session. Ma'am, Bugusia ma'am, we were pleased to hear your thought-provoking principles regarding the media. Ma'am, your idea of how to manage the consumerism, also how to evaluate, how to analysis. Ma'am, these things actually give a boosting to our children. The students will have their own thinking capacity. They will think about it. Who am I? Am I exposed to criticism? Will I feel bad when someone else criticizes me? Mustn't I take that criticism openly, positively? Ma'am, thank you very much. From bottom of our heart, we thank you for this purposeful and very good interaction.
Thank you.
I also wish to express my gratitude to our beloved Reverend Dr. Joyce, Principal, and also Reverend Father Davis, Vice Principal, for their never-ending encouragement and support. Never-ending encourage and support. Dear fathers, thank you. Thank you very much for your support. Very grateful to Mr. Jochen Joseph, sir, for your earnest hard work on Feathers of Hope. And sir, thank you very much for initiating this purposeful meeting. How much work you should have done behind this, sir. Awesome, sir. Very great. Thank you very much for that. Susan ma'am, Shiba ma'am, thank you very much for the felicitations. Amrita.
Yes, sir.
Jyotirmaya.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for your prayer, for your dance.
Thank you, sir.
Our MCs, I'm not forgetting the names, Dia and Nitin. You were doing this work seamlessly. Very good. Not a flawless. You were so much experienced to have these MCs before. I doubt. But still, you were doing it so elegantly. Thank you very much, my dear MP. I cannot end this vote of thanks without mentioning about the team behind the curtain, led by Sabu sir, Mr. Akhil, and the entire team of IT department. Sirs, thank you. Thank you very much for your effortless work. Thank you very much, sir. This program is meant for you, my dears, my dear students. So I thank each one who participated in this particular program. You will not be able to forget this so easily, as one of our students said. It is not easy to forget. Learn lessons, take advice, open to criticism, work hard, start from the beginning, set a goal, go forward, march forward. Students, this is for you. Thank you very much for your participation. By thanking Almighty for all the blessings showered upon us, may I conclude. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, Martin, sir. That was a beautiful way to end a beautiful evening.
Now, I request everyone to rise for the National Anthem.
जनमन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for a wonderful evening. Thank you for all your support. Thank you for the words. Dr. Bogusia, thank you for your love and sharing. Dr. Sudhir Narayana, thanks a lot. Thank you, Susan ma'am. Thank you, Martin sir. I hope we will continue this sometime later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Martin sir. Wonderful words. Good presentation.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Children, you have done very well. Thank you for being part of this journey. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. Take care.
Diya Nidin, very good.